Maybe afterwards. All right, well, good afternoon. Welcome down here. It's great to have everybody down for spring training, or good morning, I guess, still technically here. So welcome. Great first day. And I mean, basically, this is, I don't have any announcements or anything along those lines, so it's just a matter of answering any questions that anyone may have.
Is anyone coming to camp behind due to injury?
No, fortunately not. We don't have anybody coming behind. A couple guys will be delayed just due to visa issues. They should be here by the end of the week. Koyo is got a couple days, and Zuninga has a couple days, but they should be here by the weekend.
I guess speaking of Koyo, how did him coming as a non-roster invite, how did that kind of come about, and what do you think he might be able to bring?
Well, he's somebody that our people from our international operations have brought to our attention for years, but over this winter time, heading into the winter, between Derek Chung and basically Jorge keeping us informed, and Dora. But it's a situation where we've liked him. He was looking for a big league opportunity. It didn't come about for him at the very end. So it was a situation that we felt, we like him enough to bring him in and give him an opportunity. And he is willing to go to AAA, too. So compared to others that may say just want to go to the big league level, he is open-minded to go to AAA. And we figure that he gives us an opportunity to provide depth in the organization. I think also, I think it's a great opportunity for the organization as we try to grow in the Far East to have someone come into camp here like this. It has not been, it's not like we've tried to sign a bunch of players in that regard, but we have tried to sign a couple, and we have not really had the door open to us as much as we had hoped, and we really increased our operations in the Far East. We have a lot more scout there, a lot more. We have more individuals that are part of the organization, and we think it's a great opportunity to show somebody how welcoming our organization is to individuals from there. So hopefully that will also be part of the equation. But the reality is we wouldn't do that unless we thought he had a chance to help us at some time during the season.
Dave, you were pretty open, and ultimately you did reach an extension last spring with Zach Wheeler. You have a few guys, JT, Ranger, and Schwarber coming into contract years. Do you anticipate reaching any sort of long-term deals with any of them, or going into the contract year?
Well, not to get redundant in the response, but it really is a redundant response, and that really, from a contractual perspective, we really never like to discuss publicly. Don't discuss them publicly. I think it's better left behind the scene. Never have found anything to be gained. We like all three players a great deal and hope they're part of the organization for a long time, but only time will tell.
Taiwan through today, just other than, is it just velocity that is that the focal point that you guys are looking at from him this spring? Like, what do you need to see out of him, and what role do you think that he might be able to carve out if he produces?
Well, not only velocity, because I don't think that's only it. I mean, his velocity was very solid, much better today than it was at the beginning of last spring training by a great deal. But just his overall movements on the mound, command of the fastball, his delivery, I thought he looked so much smoother than he did last year. So much more athletic, which we've worked on him, and he's been a very athletic individual throughout his career. He's a good athlete. I think that, for whatever reason, got away from him last year. So those are the type of things that we're looking to do. He commanded his pitches on both sides of the plate, away from a right-hand hitter, which was not an easy thing for him to do last year. So you want to see that. I mean, I hope that he pitches like the Taijuan Walker that we've seen in the past, and then we'll have a great problems and great conversations, and we'll see what ends up happening. But it's one of those, you never have too much pitching. So somehow I have a feeling we'd figure it out. And good first day, but it's the beginning of spring training.
And then camps are opening, but there's still, a handful of interesting free agents out there. Do you feel like, with the amount of money that you guys have spent, the payroll where it is, that this is the team that's solidly in place, or is it a never say never type situation with guys lingering out there?
Well, it's never say never, but I would be surprised if anything would happen of any significance at this point.
Have you especially right-handed wise, but outfield depth in the organization, maybe at AAA, for example, do you guys feel like you need to add there? Do you think you have enough, especially from the right side?
Well, it's an area that we are open to, but I don't anticipate giving anybody a big league contract in that regard. but to be open to depth not only now if something happened, if somebody accepted a big league invite, or at the end of the spring if somebody was going to AAA. So, as we know, we've got the 3 outfielders that are set, Castellanos, Marsh, and Kepler. I'd say Rojas has a leg up with his ability, what he's done for us. He had a really good winter. He can play center field, which we have to have another outfielder be able to play center field. Then one ends up happening. We think Wes Wilson gets sort of swept on the side. He's done a nice job for us when we've given him the opportunity, and he can play infield and outfield. One of the things when I've talked to Topper over the winter time, ideally he would like a club with 2 extra infielders on it, which most managers do. Well, if you take that approach, then that person who would be out there, if Rojas makes the team, also needs to be able to play infield.
Right.
So that comes into the equation too. But we're open-minded to that. And really one of the other things that, not only there, but even from an infield perspective, we have a couple players that are out of options in Clemens and Kennedy. So if they don't make the team, then we're in a position where it might be tough to get them to AAA. That'd be my guess. Maybe we would, but so we're open-minded to depth from a positional player perspective. I think that we have more depth pitching-wise than we've had in the past, particularly starting pitching-wise, but we'd be open-minded to depth from a positional player perspective.
In that vein, Walker will be treated as a starter this spring, I presume?
Yes.
Are there tweeners like Mercado? Is he a reliever, starter?
We look at him as a reliever at this point, in
Okay.
Mercado's case, but I can't tell you. I would say probably a multiple inning reliever at some point, and not that he wouldn't start a game at some time as we need innings and all, but we're looking at him as a reliever at this time.
Okay.
Dave, just wondering, with so much surrounding Alec Bohm this winter, if you've had a chance to speak with him, do you plan to speak with him and gauge where his head is, what he's thinking, just after, kind of a winter that was?
Well, I've said hello to him already a couple times, had a quick chat, really didn't address the topic. Rob Thomson has talked to him about all the rumors. And the way we went in the wintertime with an open mind to how our club would look and the ability to discuss some of our players and the ability to try to get better. With that brings interest in some of your good players. Alec Bohm's a good player. And so Rob Thomson has continued to emphasize that to him a couple times in the wintertime, and that's how we feel about him. He was a starting third baseman in the National League All-Star team last year. So we like him a lot. He knows we like him a lot. Have spoken to, as a representative in the wintertime, Scott Boras at one time, assuring him that we're not shopping him. And again, I know that his name came up quite a bit because I read as much as possible. But no, not really. He seems like he's in very good spirits. Our staff members told me he seems great. He's worked hard. He's in great shape. He's worked hard. He was in the cages. I just saw him there taking swings against Kevin Long's outstanding batting practice. So, no, not really. I think he's very comfortable based upon the conversations that I've had with our staff members and with Topper.
Nationally, a lot was made of the Dodgers and everything that they did this winter to a World Series roster and the Mets and the people that they brought in and kept. What gives you the confidence that, off a 95-win season last year, that your group can hang with anybody really in the National League?
I think we have a good team. I mean, that's the reality of it. We do have a very good team. I think we have, if you start, and I think always a great place to start is starting pitching. And I think we have tremendous starting pitching. We have some depth in that regard, but anytime you have the guys we have, it's tough to replace some of them at times if things happen, but we have really good starting pitching. We have good positional players. I don't think we have a glaring weakness out there anywhere. We like our pen. We think it's deep. Some of those guys are very good. And so we just like our ball club overall. We won 95 games. And I've said this before, I take the responsibilities. We very well might have won 100 if we'd ended up getting a fifth starter that worked out after the trading deadline, because we had injuries that ended up coming up, some non-performance at that point. But you couldn't address it anymore. We did not win very many games out of our fifth starter position when you got to the second half of the season. So it's a really good club. a disappointing finish. We all know that. It's interesting how it works. I mean, we've reached the point we have to get there. We have to be focused day in and day out. We have a lot to accomplish during the season. Your success right now is very determined how you do in the postseason a lot right now. I mean, I don't hear anybody say, hey, the Phillies beat the Dodgers 5 out of 6 last year during the regular season. All right, we did. And they've got a tremendous club, as do others in our league. But I think we match up against anybody. I hope we get the opportunity to do that in October.
Just as a follow to that, like not every team in baseball in 2025 builds around their starting rotation anymore. Does that make you unique in a way that you've got, really 5 and really 6 veteran starting pitchers who, have been in the game a long time? Again, not everyone can say that. Does that put you guys does that make you unique in how you've built your team?
Well, I don't know if it makes us unique. Not many clubs do it as much. One, we have, I'm not just saying this, an owner that's very accommodating to us in that regard. Sometimes good starting pitching costs pretty good dollars. So we've gone out and been aggressive in being able to do that. So there are a couple of clubs that are 5 deep. I mean, Seattle's got really 5 good starters. The Dodgers have 5 good starters, and the Yankees have. I mean, there are other clubs. But I really, you always, to me, I think open-mindedness in my position as an organization is always extremely important. So you listen to everything that's out there. You try to grasp whatever you can. We've got some extremely intelligent individuals. But I still like the opportunity when your starting pitcher gives you an edge over the other club's starting pitcher, and they can go deep into games. I still like that philosophy as a way to try to win games.
You said over the winter that Painter isn't going to pitch in Grapefruit League games. So what is the plan, and just how excited are you kind of 2 years after all the buzz to get this back off the ground again?
Well, I'm very excited. I think he's one of the best young pitchers in baseball. I think he's going to be a tremendous major league pitcher. He is, and when I say that, I don't worry about him hearing that and then not working hard. He works extremely hard. We just have to be careful with him this year. He's going to be able to pitch some innings, but I'm extremely excited to have him getting close to pitching at the major league level. And I think he has a chance to be an exceptional pitcher at the big league level. He has the potential to be a number 1, top of the rotation type starter. Now, maybe he wouldn't be ours right off the bat. We've got some pretty good ones, but he has that type of potential for the long term.
Do you still see the summer as the target date for him to potentially?
Yeah, I've said all along July-ish, and I don't know if that means June or it means August. And again, he has to perform and he has to stay healthy. And also, hopefully we have 5 really good starting pitchers at that point that make it difficult for him to break into at that time. So you only wait to see what happens, but that's when I think we'll turn him loose more, because if you look at the innings limitation, we want to end up building him up and not burning him too early in the year is what our plans are.
What will he be doing during spring training? How many pitches is he going to be up to in spring training?
Well, I don't even have an exact number of pitches, but we have a plan for him. He'll throw. He threw on the side the other day. He didn't throw as many pitches as some of the other guys did. He'll be throwing on a regular basis and probably every 3 days on the side for now. I'm sure he'll throw to hitters at some point. And then as we get close to the end of spring training, we'll be amping up where he'll start to be able to pitch some innings in extended spring as we go forward.
One other prospect question. Aiden Miller is the youngest guy in camp. One, what made you guys want to bring him to big league camp? And 2, will he play elsewhere other than shortstop this spring, or will he get some work elsewhere?
Good question. He is the reason that we have him in camp because we think he's a good player. He might come very quickly, and having him the exposure to the big league camp. One of the things that's happened in our organization, and I've talked about this, we've drafted where we've drafted over the years. We've drafted near the end of the first round. A lot of times that's led us to drafting high school players that take a little longer to get there. Sometimes you have to have patience with those players, and that's hard at times. But now we're getting to the point where they're getting closer. If it starts with the Painter, Aiden Miller, just a quick Justin Crawford. Abel through yesterday was outstanding. So it's time that we start bringing some of those guys in and being part of our camp and being exposed to it. It's going to not be long till they start getting meshed into playing at the big league level as they continue. So they're extremely important for us. So that's why he's in camp. Our people think he'll handle it very well from player development, not only good player, but makeup-wise, he won't be intimidated whatsoever. And our plans are in spring training is to play shortstop. That's where he's going to play. I'm not saying he won't ever get a ground ball at third base at time, but really we had talked about it in our meeting the other day. We're going to keep him at shortstop. Our guys feel that he can play shortstop. We've had a lot of people that I've asked that have looked at him, and they think that he can play shortstop. So we'll see what happens.
And coming up with that roadmap for Painter in his year, can you give us an idea, like maybe some of the people and the resources you've leaned on, maybe spoken to, in building that plan for him, and to make sure everything's, you have the proper blueprint? Have you talked to other teams or guys who've gone through it, doctors, things like that?
No, primarily it's medically driven. Basically, I mean, when I say that medically driven, we have an outstanding trainer, Paul Buchheit, who's dealt with this, our doctor, Dr. Cohen. And so the doctors at Albatross that perform the surgery. So I've really, over the last couple of years, when people, even last year, would ask me, okay, when are we going to bring up? I said, well, let's ask the doctors. This is not one. I've had people that have come back myself from surgeries before. But really, it's been medically driven by our staff, and Paul is very thorough in his conversations with people, and he has health conscious. But I remember last year when we were talking about him, we didn't know he was going to pitch in the Arizona Fall League, had no idea, and he kept progressing, and a few weeks beforehand, Paul came up to me and said, "Dave, I think he's ready. He's ready to do that." I said, "We're not pushing him. I don't want him to be pushed. I don't want it to be forced." He said, he needs to take this next step. He's ready for this. He needs to go out and pitch against competition. He's ready to do it. So it's really a medically driven situation for us, because we want to make sure that we do everything we can to try to keep him healthy from here on out.
Is there any chance that he could have that same conversation March 15th and say, wouldn't be the worst thing to throw him into a Grapefruit League game, or is that totally out of the question?
I can't ever say ever. I mean, but there's no indication of that happening whatsoever.
And then would you be surprised if Aiden Miller was in Philly later this season? I mean, was that something that's the timetable?
I guess that would surprise me a little bit, but I mean, it's I don't want to get carried because and I'm not putting this on him, but I remember I used to sit next to for a dozen years every game by a guy by the name of Al Kaline, who used to tell me, "Dave, he led the league in hitting when he was 19, and he'd say, like, the good ones come fast. Let me just tell you, they come fast. And I've never hesitated to be able to push guys. But saying that, I'm not putting that on them. But when you're around those really good guys, I've had plenty of them. They come fast. And Al used to tell me, I say, I don't know, Dave, they can do it. Believe me, he can handle it. So. Yeah, again, I don't think he'll do it, but I wouldn't be surprised playing the big leagues in the near future.
Okay.
Any other questions for me? All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.
Jose Alvarado looks to be in great shape. Was that kind of a directive to him going into the offseason?
No, I don't think so. I think he took it upon himself to lean up. I mean, it looks like he's lost a lot more weight than he has. I think he's probably lost 6 or 7 pounds, but it looks like it's a lot more. It's just redistributed, and he looks really good.
And he's kind of one of the guys you're counting on to bounce back this season?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, he went through some tough times last year, but there were times when he pitched really well. So it'd be nice if he gave us that consistent performance.
Rob, how long did the sting of last October's exit stay with you?
Today,
I'm sorry?
till today. You know, now we got to move forward, but I mean, it's always there. The sting from the World Series a couple years ago is always there. You know, it's just you feel like it's some missed opportunities, and we just have to play better when that time comes. But we got to get there first. And right now, my message to the players today was all about health, and that try not to do too much, stay under control. Don't try to impress right now. We're not making any decisions on the club today or in the near future. So we need to get through the first week of camp, first week of games, and first week of regular season games, and then I'll be a little bit more comfortable.
In your conversations with guys over the winter, did you sense that this sting stayed with them throughout the winter, and how much of a driving force is that, you know, going into today and the season?
Yeah, I think it'll stay. It really motivate them for this year. I think if you're any type of competitor and you lose, it stays with you for a long time. And these guys are competitors, the people we have.
Quick little audio fix. We'll go to Matt next.
Oh, am I too close?
He's a pro. Last spring, the tenor was about we need to get off to better starts. We have not started well. Do you feel like you need to better, or do you feel like you can manage maybe your starting pitchers better this spring because you do have some numbers there, maybe to just save a few bullets in some guys? Is that a priority this spring? Less so the fast start, because some guys were ready right out the gate, but
Yeah.
ended up not being able to finish well.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it, but I think that we want to start off fast again, but we want to maintain it. So there are certain times last year during the start of the season where guys were just pitching so well. They get, Ranger getting the 6 innings, got 60 pitches. And with one, he's giving up 1 base run or whatever the situation is. And it's tough to take a guy out, when that happens. But I think that there's a way to manage those guys a little bit better early, and maybe that gives them a little bit of push at the end.
You mentioned that example of like a guy getting to the 6th inning with a low pitch count. If that, it's hard to say now, like if that pops up again, might you act differently even though the guy's cruising based on what you learned last year?
It'd be a case-by-case basis. What happened in his last start? He's going on regular rest the next start. Is he getting an extra day? Plus the individual. I can't say absolutely I would take the guy out or that I wouldn't. I think it's case by case.
And just what stuck out to you today on day one?
Strike throwing ability. And again, that was one of the messages. I said, we can't chase velo right now because you're liable to hurt yourself. If you're chasing anything, chase control and command. And they did just that. I think everybody, the 9 guys that I saw that threw off the mound, they commanded the baseball very well today.
The one theoretical open spot on the pitching staff, like if everybody stays healthy, what type of skill set or attributes are you looking for from that guy? Is it just the best guy who performs the best?
I think so, and hopefully that guy can give us a little bit of length. But we're probably going to stretch out Tanner Banks a little bit, maybe Ruiz, a couple of those guys that are going to be in our bullpen because we need that flexibility, especially early when it's tough where you can't call up 40-man roster guys for a period of time. So we have to get through the early part of the season.
Have you had that conversation yet with JT about how
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
and how did that go?
I think it was good. I think he realizes that, he needs to have a good year and he needs to stay healthy. So we need to do a better job of managing his games. Now, do I know exactly how many games he's going to play? I don't know. And I think you gauge that as the season goes on. But did talk to him about, having some DH days. He was all in on that. And there may be some other ways we can do it.
Is that a hard plan to stick to if he does play well? In other words, say he's having a great season and you go, maybe
Tough
you
to
don't
take him
need
out.
more.
Yeah. I think you have to remember the history. And I think there are times when you have to take the game away from players, and it might be the case for JT on certain days.
And then that last bench spot, Dave was saying how you like to have two infielders on the bench. That could be Cody, that could be Wes. How much is the importance of balance in terms of right-handed hitting, left-handed hitting?
Pretty important because we're so left-handed.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that Cody Clemens isn't going to make the club. But we are going to get Cody and Wes Wilson and Buddy Kennedy and Sosa some outfield play during spring training to try to give us some flexibility there.
Okay, so Sosa is going to take, because I know you guys have talked about that
Yeah.
maybe the last couple springs and it never really transpired.
Yeah,
but
I think we're going to force it a little bit this year.
Okay.
And all the thinking you've done about your lineup or your batting order, how much have you thought about maybe one order against lefties, one against righties? Is that a lot of teams will do that? Is that something that you're interested in doing and maybe giving it a different look?
I think the back end of the lineup, sure, but with Harper's ability to hit left-hand pitching and Schwarber's ability to hit left-hand pitching, I want those guys getting as many at bats as we can. So I don't think I'm going to mess with the front of whatever the front is. I don't know that. We're going to play around with some things in spring training, but I think the top 4 or 5 guys are going to be pretty consistent.
And also just given how Harper does against lefties and Schwarber, do you tend to like to alternate left, right, or right, left? I mean, do you still want to do that, or do you not mind anymore putting left, back to back, or right, back to back?
I'd still like to spread them out a little bit. I mean, at some point you're going to have two lefties in a row. It's going to happen, whether it's at the front or the back. And even though those guys hit lefties very well, they hit righties a lot better. So you put a righty in between them, I think you have a better chance.
If JT does get a few more DH days, Schwarber get a little more outfield time,
Yep.
you think? And will he get some time out there this spring?
Yes.
Okay.
How did Taewon look to you, and how do you think his off-season program worked for him?
I think it's worked very well. He looked very athletic, very smooth. The arm worked great today. I don't know the exact velocity, but it looked like it was up from where he was last year. I've told everybody that I don't look at velocity the first week because I just want guys to get through it healthy. But he looked very good. He commanded the baseball, both sides of the plate. He spun the ball very well. He looks like he's on a mission, and it looks like he worked extremely hard.
Like this, and when the games start, will you even get JT behind the plate? Maybe will you hold it off till like mid-month or something?
Oh, no. Yeah, we'll get him in there.
Okay. Is it safe to say you don't want Schwarber hitting any lower than 4?
Yes.
And if I could ask, did you maybe reach out to your counterpart with the Eagles?
I did. I texted him, and he didn't text me back, but I said in the text, I know you're getting 300, 400 texts, so don't worry about it. But I just wanted to congratulate him and the entire club. I mean, it just, the city's on fire right now, and rightly so. They played great. That was a dominant performance.
I know you said a couple times that you spoke with Bowman in the offseason. Do you feel like that now is behind you and he's able to move forward and not reflect?
Absolutely. His mindset yesterday, I haven't seen him today, but I talked to him yesterday, and A bunch of coaches were around him for a long time with Bobby and Paco and getting him ground balls, and they said he's so positive. Seems like a different guy. Like he's grown up and again, he's grown up so much since we first brought him to the big leagues. And now looks like he's taken another step. So I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Is there anywhere specific that you want to see him improve this season?
I think just the consistency, and I think, as it turns out, he had that hand injury late, and I in my mind, I still think that it was probably bothering him at the end. But just the consistency, making those lows not as low. Everybody's going to go through tough times, making sure those tough times don't last as long as they have.
Any other questions for Thomas? All right, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.